The derelict spun without purpose in the void, its hull pocked and dark, reflecting no light despite orbiting one of the galaxy's most violent stars. No transmission, no heat signature, only a soft, rhythmic gravitational pulse, like the final beat of a dying heart. It had been drifting there longer than Earth had known agriculture, held perfectly in orbit around the neutron star's crushing gravity, where no ship should remain stable. Captain Leona Ryther leaned forward in her chair, eyes fixed on the anomaly. Her face was carved by long deployments, streaks of silver in her dark hair and a gaze that had forgotten how to blink. She'd seen war, exodus, and extinction, but the math of this orbit defied every known law. Distance, 3,000 kilometers from the stellar surface, said Malixio, the ship's AI specialist. He hovered beside her, tablet in hand, fingers flicking through data. That thing should have been torn apart centuries ago. And yet it's whole, Ryther murmured. From the science deck, a low whistle of awe. That pulse, said Dr. Vell, the xenolinguist, barely above a whisper. It's not natural. That's a pattern. Rhythmic encoded. Something, or someone, is talking. Ryther stood. The command deck of the Horizon Veil hummed around her with the smooth, antiseptic calm of a research vessel. No alarms, no urgency. Just curiosity, pure, cold, human curiosity, the kind that cracked planets and raised empires. How old is it? She asked. Carbon decay suggests over 90,000 years, said Malik. But that orbit is perfect. It's active. The rest of the crew held their breath. Ryther broke the silence. Prepare a drone. Let's go say hello. The Horizon Veil had seen first contact with 5 alien species. None had left an impression like this. No biosigns. No weapons. Just silence and a gravitational hum that seemed to tug not at the ship, but at something older, deeper. The drone launched with a quiet hiss, a small spherical device coated in black adaptive plating. It drifted toward the structure, light scanning the curved, monolithic surface. Surface composition unknown alloy. No entry points. No markings, reported Malik. Then how do we know it's a vessel? Ryther asked. Because it's storing data, he replied, eyes wide. The gravitational pulse, it's not a beacon. It's memory. The word settled into the air like dust in sunlight. Memory. Back on the deck, the lights dimmed for just a moment, long enough for everyone to notice. Systems flickered, then resumed. No interference, the AI reported. Sensors nominal. But Ryther noticed the change in her crew. Dr. Vell stared straight ahead, unblinking. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Ryther approached, placing a hand on her shoulder. Doctor? Vell blinked, as if waking from a dream. I saw a city. Floating in space. Towers shaped like spirals. It was beautiful. And then it collapsed. You were dreaming? No. It felt real. Like it was injected into my mind. Malik nodded slowly. Gravitational imprinting. If the structure is old enough, its field may contain high-density waveforms. They could interact with neural activity. You're telling me gravity can talk? I'm telling you it can remember. The phrase echoed in the silence. A day passed. Then 2. More of the crew reported similar visions, flashes of cities, voices and languages no one had ever heard, moments of intense emotion, fear, joy, despair. None of it coherent. All of it vivid. Ryther resisted sleep, but when it came, it hit her like a falling moon. She was walking through a hall of stone and light, her footsteps silent. Figures passed her, tall, translucent, without eyes. They spoke in tones that resonated through her bones, not her ears. One touched her shoulder and whispered, "You are late." She woke gasping, heart hammering, sweat soaking her undershirt. The ship's AI activated automatically. "Captain, your vitals are elevated. Do you require assistance?" "No," she said, wiping her face. "Just run a cognitive diagnostic. On the entire crew." The results were subtle but clear. Neural patterns were shifting. Not degrading, but changing. Adaptive synapse activity had increased by 14% across the crew. As if the structure was teaching them something, whether they wanted it or not. On the third day, the anomaly changed. The gravitational pulse increased in frequency. Not enough to affect orbit, but enough to be noticed. Captain, the signal, it's accelerating. It's reacting to us, Malik said. Then let's speak, Rytha said. They directed the drone to emit a gravitational counterpulse, basic waveforms, designed to mirror the pattern. For minutes, nothing happened. Then the deck lights dimmed again, longer this time. Systems wavered. The ship's AI stuttered. And the monolith moved. Only slightly, a tilt, a realignment, but enough to register. Enough to confirm intention. The AI chimed, this time with urgency. Captain? One of our long-range shuttles, Shuttle 6. It's missing. That's impossible, Malik said. No orders were given. Who's on board? Crew manifest, none. Locked in hangar before anomaly detection. But the hangar was empty. And then it returned. 6 hours later, Shuttle 6 reappeared, drifting dead and scarred, as though it had aged decades. Its hull was cracked, paint peeled. Radiation readings off the scale. Rytha suited up personally. No one else volunteered. Inside the shuttle was silence and ruin. No bodies, no logs. Just one thing, a small, smooth stone, the size of a fist, lying on the pilot's chair. She picked it up. It was warm. When she brought it back aboard, Malik ran every scan. Nothing. It was just a stone, except it wasn't. Everyone who touched it experienced the same sensation, falling, endlessly, without fear. Just gravity pulling at their very thoughts. That night, the crew dreamed together. Same city. Same voice. You are echoes. But not the first. When Rytha woke, Malik was already waiting outside her quarters. I know what it is, he said. Or at least, what it was. The structure is a memorial. A kind of gravimetric library. But there's something inside it, a mind or an echo of one. It's not just remembering. It's watching. Watching for what? For who comes next. Rytha stared at the drifting object on the screen, its surface reflecting nothing, as though it swallowed light and meaning alike. We're being evaluated, Malik continued. Tested. Not with weapons, but with memory. Exposure to the anomaly is evolving our brains slowly. It's choosing what to show us, based on how we respond. Rytha folded her arms. You sound afraid. I'm not. I'm fascinated. It's a design we can't replicate, gravity used as architecture, as communication, even cognition. But, he hesitated, what if it's more than passive? What if it's looking for hosts? A long silence followed. We leave in 48 hours, Rytha finally said. But the structure didn't intend to wait. That night, the horizon veil was pulled slightly closer to the neutron star. Not violently, just enough for instruments to notice. The monolith wasn't done talking. The ship's AI glitched again, briefly replaced by a female voice none of them had heard before. You do not understand mass. You have not yet earned memory. Then everything returned to normal. Malik's hands trembled over the console. It's speaking to us. Not just in dreams now. It's using the ship. We leave tomorrow, Rytha said again, but softer. A lie she wanted to believe. The gravitational signal doubled again before morning. The monolith pulsed again. This time, the rhythm wasn't just intelligible, it was urgent. Like the tightening beat of a war drum. The crew of the Horizon Veil stood in quiet anticipation on the command deck, watching lines of gravitational data scroll across the monitors like blood pressure spikes before cardiac arrest. Captain Leona Rytha could feel the change in the room. Not fear. Not yet. But a deep, humming pressure that lived in the bones. We received a response to our last transmission, Malixios said, his voice carefully controlled. But it's not just words this time. It's a download. A what? Rytha stepped forward. He nodded toward the monitor. The monolith is emitting a high-density gravimetric pattern, too complex for real-time decryption. I'm feeding it into a localized simulation field. It's massive. Dr. Vell stood nearby, arms folded, her face pale. We're talking about entire civilizations stored in gravitational compression. It's not data, it's memory. And it wants us to see it. Rytha narrowed her eyes. Proceed. The lights dimmed as the field engaged. A low-frequency hum filled the room, deep and physical, like standing beside a nuclear engine. Everyone in the room flinched. The image began to form. Not on any screen, but in the air itself, distortions, like heat mirages in the shape of cities. Floating towers. Beings like elongated shadows, moving without feet. Then screaming. Collapse. Implosion. A civilization unspooling from the inside out, dragged inward by something unseen. The simulation ended abruptly. Everyone exhaled. What the hell was that? Said Lieutenant Cale Varys, breaking the silence. Rytha turned. A warning. Vell was still staring at the spot where the vision had hovered. They tried to control gravity, she said. Harness it. Contain it. But it fought back. Malik added quietly. And I think they made something. Or woke something. A consciousness not born of biology, but of mass. Rytha felt the word press against her like a hand to the chest. Sentience. Created from the universe's oldest force. The ship's systems chirped, new signal. But this time, not from the monolith. Unscheduled mass fluctuation in Sector 7, the AI reported. Varys was already moving. Engineering. Rytha followed. The anomaly was immediate, a gravitic sink forming near the central core of the ship. The air felt thinner. A slow pull, like invisible hands clutching at limbs. We have to evacuate this section, Varys said. If it breaches containment. It won't, she said, pulling a stabilizer from the wall. What do you need? Varys looked surprised, but didn't argue. Stabilizer relay on 3. We redirect the energy into the shielding array. They moved as one. Sparks flew. The pull grew stronger. Now! Varys shouted. The stabilizer hissed, then roared. A thrum echoed through the hull. The pull stopped. Rytha staggered back, breathing hard. Varys wasn't moving. She was slumped over the panel, blood trickling from her nose. Get a medic! Rytha barked. Varys opened her eyes. Or something opened her eyes. They were silver. Not white. Not human. She spoke. Too soon. Not yet shaped. Then her body went limp. They brought her to Med-Bay. Scans showed no brain activity, no damage. But her cells were alive. Oxygenated. Breathing. She's in a suspended neural state, the medic said. As if something's overriding conscious function. Malik stared at her through the glass. We just lost her. Or part of her. But what's replaced it isn't nothing. Rytha shook her head. I won't lose my crew to a ghost. She's not possessed, Malik said. She's adapted. Her mind's still inside. But it's being shared. In the silence that followed, Varys sat up. Everyone froze. She looked around. Her gaze was calm. Slow. I felt it, she said. Not like a voice. Like a presence. Cold. Endless. And it looked at me. What did it want? Rytha asked. Varys looked at her. It wanted to know what makes us break. Hours later, Rytha stood in her quarters, staring at the same anomaly through the viewport. The monolith drifted, eternal and silent, but now she understood it wasn't the source. It was the library. The recorder. The tombstone. Whatever they'd awakened wasn't inside it. It was gravity itself, reshaped into thought by a long-dead race. A construct born from the compression of memory and mass. And now, it knew they were here. Malik called her to the lab. He looked tired, eyes rimmed red, but his voice was steady. I built something, he said. A gravitic mirror. Think of it as a conversation starter. She frowned. We've already been talking. No, he said. We've been listening. This thing learns by watching us. But I think we can change that. He activated the device. A low pulse burst out, barely audible. The monolith shifted. Then it responded. Not in data. In images. The command deck blurred. They were standing on a world that no longer existed. The sky was black, cut with lines of energy. Above them loomed a star, folded and chained by gravitational structures. The voice returned. You echo the ones who fell. Malik spoke back, this time with a voice strong and deliberate. We are not echoes. We're impact. The illusion shattered. Back on the ship, alarms blared. Gravity well forming off the port bow, the AI shouted. They watched as the very fabric of space folded. A shape emerged, vast, undefined but real. The entity had answered. Vel turned toward Rytha. It's not just remembering. It's evolving. We're out of time, Malik added. If we can't contain the field, this ship, and everyone on it, is going to be flattened into a smear of quantum memory. Suggestions? Rytha asked. Malik exhaled. We build a counterpulse. Something unpredictable. Emotional. That's what it doesn't understand. It calculates, predicts. But we don't always make sense. You want to weaponize irrationality? I want to show it what humanity feels like. They got to work. In the depths of the engine bay, they wired together a rudimentary gravitic oscillator. Rytha donated the waveform of her own heartbeat. Vel added audio from a human funeral. Malik added his childhood memories, converted into frequency. They sent the signal. Nothing. Then the monolith cracked. Not physically. But in the field around it, fractures, disruptions. The AI screamed. Hostile feedback detected. System destabilizing. Rytha made a choice. We dive. Full burn. Into the gravity well. Force it to see us inside the storm. You're insane, Malik said. No. I'm human. The horizon veil roared to life. Engines screamed. They dropped into the gravity well, instruments spinning, time bleeding sideways. And then, stillness. In the eye of the storm, there was no up. No down. Only wait. The entity appeared, this time as a mirror of Rytha herself. You resist the echo. Rytha stepped forward. We are the echo. And the response. A burst of light, then blackness. And silence. They awoke drifting. Time unknown. Systems rebooting. The monolith was gone. Varys sat up in medbay. I had a dream, she said. I saw a future. One where we teach the stars to remember us. Malik turned to Rytha. We didn't just survive. We changed the conversation. Rytha looked out at the stars, their glow softer somehow. She smiled. We're just getting started. Would you like Section 3 written now? Darkness hung like folded space around the horizon veil. Systems had returned gradually, reluctantly, as if unsure they were still permitted to function in the aftermath of what the crew now called the gravitic communion. Time, once linear and obedient, no longer felt reliable. Clocks ticked, but memories overlapped. Some crew reported conversations that hadn't happened yet. Others recalled events that no one else remembered. Captain Leona Rytha stood on the observation deck, staring into the void where the monolith had been. There was no wreckage, no aftershock, not even a ripple. As if it had never existed. But something had changed. The stars felt closer. Or maybe they were simply paying attention now. Varys is stable, said Malik Seo from behind her. Med scans show full cognitive restoration. No trace of external override. Rytha turned, her gaze heavy with weeks of unanswered questions. Is it still with her? I don't know, Malik admitted. But if it is, it's not trying to control her anymore. It's watching. Listening, maybe. Varys had been different since the incident. Quieter, yes, but also deeper, her speech more measured, her thoughts wrapped in strange, poetic clarity. When she looked at you, it was like being observed through space-time itself. She remembered everything, even things no one had said aloud. The ship's AI pinged, then spoke. New anomaly detected. 107,000 kilometers off starboard. Spatial curvature irregular. Not natural. Ryther didn't flinch. Another monolith? No. Not this time. They arrived at the edge of the anomaly 3 hours later. It wasn't a structure. It was a fissure in space, a long, thin tear, like light pulled too tightly across a frame. From its edges spilled low-band gravitational noise. Familiar. Almost musical. They'll join them on the bridge, her expression grim. I translated the pulses. It's a library. A new one. Malik frowned. Built by the entity? No. Built by us. The data held within the tear wasn't alien. It was human, specifically, records from the Horizon Veil. Log entries, sensor feeds, even personal crew memories. It's reflecting us, Vel whispered. Recording us, the way it was once recorded. Ryther felt it in her chest, something vast and invisible curling inwards. Not a threat, but a response. The entity hadn't destroyed them. It had inducted them. Malik said what no one else wanted to. We've become the next chapter. The thought landed heavier than the neutron star behind them. The next days were spent decoding the tear, not just cataloging but interfacing. Humanity's physiology, its emotion-laced data, its volatile curiosity, these were now part of a system far beyond comprehension. But something stranger emerged from the interaction, the ability to predict gravity fluctuations before they occurred. It's like we've absorbed some of its perception, Malik explained. We see the dance before the music starts. Varys was the first to test it. During a routine maneuver near a gravity sink, she called out a pattern just before it destabilized. They corrected in time. No instrument had seen it coming. Her words had saved them. It speaks through instinct now, she later said. Through echo. The integration was accelerating. Soon, others experienced it. Not voices. Not visions. Just certainty. Subconscious corrections. Hunches that proved true. Human intuition, sharpened by an intelligence too large to wear a face. It wasn't control. It was inheritance. But not all the crew were willing to carry that legacy. Lieutenant Arjun Desa, a structural engineer from Titan, requested repatriation at the next colony. This isn't what I signed up for, he told Ryther. I joined to touch the edge of the unknown. Not to be remade by it. She granted his request. Others followed. A silent exodus, small but significant. Not every mind could stretch that wide. Ryther respected them. Fear of change was human too. Still, for those who remained, the Horizon Veil became something else, part vessel, part relic. They stopped issuing standard logs. There was no need. Everything was already being remembered, as if space itself had begun keeping notes. Then came the invitation. A ping. Not from the fissure, but from deep space. Encoded in an unfamiliar dialect, but recognizable structure. Addressed directly to Horizon Veil. I think it's a rendezvous, Malik said. Coordinates. No message. Just a location. Vel stepped in. I've been reviewing some of the earlier gravimetric memories. There were others. Other species. Some didn't survive, but some did. I think we're being summoned. Ryther didn't hesitate. Set course. The jump was long. Too long, by conventional means. But gravity folded now, when asked properly. They arrived in a region unmarked on any chart. Empty. Quiet. Until they weren't alone. A vessel hovered in the dark. Unlike any built by humans, or anyone else. It was formed of layered motion, overlapping geometries that defied focus. It shimmered without light. It resonated softly, like a cathedral humming with breath. They were hailed. Not by voice. By memory. A shared vision flooded the minds of the bridge crew, a council of figures in silhouette, each speaking in pulses of history. Words were replaced by images, extinction events, breakthroughs, sacrifices. A pantheon of survivors. "You are late," said a chorus in Varys's voice. Malik's hands tightened on the console. "What is this place?" "A conclave," Rytha answered quietly, her understanding blooming like dawn. "A gathering of those who passed the echo." It was never about defeating the entity. It was about surviving within it. And now, humanity had been invited into the collective memory, a living archive of species that learned not just to manipulate gravity, but to coexist with its sentient form. The meeting was not diplomatic. No words were exchanged. Instead, the horizon veil pulsed once, and the other vessel pulsed in return. A handshake of space-time. Rytha stood in her quarters that night, staring at Earth's distant direction. They were further from home than any human had ever traveled, measured not just in light years, but in understanding. She activated the recorder. "This is Captain Leona Rytha of the Horizon Veil," she began. "We found something at the edge of known space. Or it found us. And we've changed. We're not coming back the same. If gravity remembers, then we have a duty to be remembered well." She paused. "Tell Earth we left echoes. Tell them they'll hear us, if they learn to listen." She closed the log. Varys found her later, carrying a small device. "It's time," she said. The crew gathered on the deck. The tear had begun to close, its work complete. But before it vanished, the horizon veil transmitted one final burst, a message encoded not in language, but in rhythm. Heartbeat. A single, defiant pulse. An echo of impact. The tear sealed. The data vanished. But the resonance lingered. And somewhere far from stars, something ancient pulsed in reply. They were remembered. And they were no longer alone.